Yeah, congratulations to Liverpool. They are the Premier League champions. This is the Social Hit on talkSPORT 2 with me, Olly Clink, alongside Rory Jennings. It's been coming, of course, hasn't it, Rory, that Liverpool were going to be crowned as the kings of the Premier League, but confirmed after absolutely battering Tottenham Hotspur. And it's a huge achievement, isn't it? Arne Slot, just the fifth manager to win the title in his first season. You've got to hand it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really understand. I don't really understand the narrative that isn't quite as supportive of acknowledging what this Liverpool team have done. What they have done is sensational. What they have done is historic. What they have done should be studied by everybody else and used as a blueprint of how to move forward. You bring in a new manager, you borrow from the brilliance of the previous manager, you put your own sprinkle of stardust on it, and then you let your players play. He did. Like, what Arne Slot has done here is so impressive. It's like mind-blowingly good. And basically, you know, when people are saying, oh, you know, they've got off the boil or whatever, people seem to be forgetting that when they had to be good, when it mattered to Liverpool, when the 3 points every week was desperately needed, they got them.
They pulled out bag.
Like, the reason they've won the league at a canter is because of their brilliance in the first third and second third of the season. By the third, they'd kind of won it and slowed down a bit, and they not necessarily run out of steam, but they weren't as motivated perhaps because they knew that it was in the bag. But when they had to be good, they shone.
It's funny as well that you mention Jurgen Klopp there, because Arne Slot very quickly after the game was quick to sing that song that Klopp had sung about him, and he was very quick to give a lot of praise to Klopp. And actually, it's interesting, you know, that it's been called the Immaculate Evolution, really, hasn't it? That obviously Arne Slot has taken over and so seamlessly taken on this team that has been full of star players and players that have won this league before. But how much credit do you think Jurgen Klopp should get? Because actually, there's a lot of managers that maybe wouldn't want their successor to succeed in the way that Arne Slot has done.
I might be slightly a bit of a non-conformist here. I acknowledge Jurgen Klopp as one of the best managers to have ever applied his trade in this country, but I don't necessarily give him too much credit here. I feel like the full credit belongs to Arne Slot.
The full credit?
Yeah. I do. I think that the full credit, effectively the full credit. Of course, you could give a honourable mention to Jurgen Klopp. Of course, we can acknowledge what Jurgen Klopp did before, but Jurgen Klopp didn't win the league. Jurgen Klopp didn't win the league that often. Arne Slot has landed. He's redefined some of the players. Like the way that he won the league. Like there were no major signings, no midfield reinforcements, and no marquee signings.
Yeah, but doesn't that show what Klopp left him? It was an incredible platform for him to take on. I do agree with you. Obviously, it's his achievement, but I do think Klopp does deserve credit for that, given what he left Slot, and given the way that he's handed the baton over to him.
I wouldn't be curmudgeon enough to say that he doesn't deserve any credit. Yeah, fine. Let's acknowledge his contribution. But no, I don't really agree, and I think I'm in the minority here, but I don't really agree that we have to talk about the brilliance of Klopp, which does exist, because I don't think it's his win. I don't think this is one of those examples where you go, it was his team. His team didn't win the league. He didn't have Ryan Gravenberch playing the way that he did. Ryan Gravenberch has been redefined, completely reimagined as a player by Arne Slot at various points under Jurgen Klopp. Ryan Gravenberch felt like a bit part player. He felt like he's on the periphery. It's the vision of Slot that has made Ryan Gravenberch one of the best midfielders in the league.
Actually,
it's Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah's form in Jurgen Klopp's final season, by his standards, by most footballers' standards, it would be amazing. It'd be one of your most breathtaking seasons. But by his own standards, it wasn't great. He has found a new gear. He has found a way of being better than he ever was. And you think about how brilliant Mohamed Salah was, running with the ball, scoring goals, creating goals. When he first landed at Liverpool, he's better now than he ever was under Klopp.
Yeah. And also maybe even someone like Konate too. Like you say there, under Klopp, not quite the player he was, and another player that Slot has brought through, and he's been fantastic at the back alongside Van Dijk too. When you mentioned Salah there, where does this cement, do you think, his legacy as a Liverpool player?
Well, mate, we have to talk about Salah. We have to talk, and we will. But can I just add something to it as well? When you were saying about how much of it belongs to Klopp.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, if Klopp had left the template, the team ready to go, like a coiled spring ready to launch into the new season, if Klopp had left that, then everybody at the beginning of the season would have said Liverpool for the league. No, literally nobody did. I'm sure people listening now will tell us they did. But if we're totally honest,
I don't think so, actually.
I
don't think so.
Because, and do you know how we know nobody did?
Because Jamie Carragher didn't say it.
Yeah, Jamie Carragher had them third. That's a really good... Absolutely. That's a better point than the one I was going to make. Jamie Carragher had them third, didn't he?
Yeah,
that's actually a better point than I was going to make, yeah.
Which was sensible. It was sensible.
So I do think that, I haven't... This isn't me having a pop at Klopp or anything even close to that. But this is Slot's victory, in my opinion. Yeah.
Do you know what else as well is that Arne Slot, when he did come in, there were even people saying, "Is this job too big for him?" You forget about that kind of narrative at the start of the season. It's very true. Actually, do you know what? Just before we get on to Mo Salah, because I do want to talk about that and his legacy, and of course he signed a new contract too. I want to talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold because he had his name sung. It was his first game at Anfield since that news had come out about him potentially moving to Real Madrid. And it's interesting, I was speaking to Mo Stewart a bit earlier on, and they were saying that given that reaction after the goal he scored against Leicester, and maybe given how he looked so unbelievably delighted yesterday, of course, to be winning that Premier League title, there's no chance of a U-turn going on here, is there? Can you see that? Can you see a world where Alexander-Arnold does that?
Yeah, there should be. If Trent Alexander-Arnold was switched on and he was making a purely football decision, then I think that he stays at Liverpool. I really do. I don't think that the allure of Real Madrid is particularly impressive. Again, I feel like I'm in the minority here, but this whole fallacy where people say you don't say no to Real Madrid. Yeah, you do. You do if you're Trent Alexander-Arnold for a million reasons. Trent Alexander-Arnold just won the league. Real Madrid will not. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Scouser. He's got no affiliation to Real Madrid whatsoever. Trent Alexander-Arnold has the potential to be a one-club man at Liverpool in this era of Liverpool that looks like it could be their golden era off the back of what's gone before it.
Do you almost think it's taken this story to come out for him to then see the reaction of Liverpool supporters and then maybe go, oh, hold on, have I made the right choice here, if that is what he was set on doing in the summer?
The only reason that I can see the benefit of going to Madrid, and I know most people say, but the Los Blancos and playing in the Bernabeu and being part of this new look Real Madrid team, Tchouaméni and Bellingham and Mbappe. I think it's great for money and for brand, and I hate even saying that word, but it's true. That's how some footballers now think. And if Trent Alexander-Arnold wants to effectively become a Galactico, in the way that David Beckham wants to become a
tempting. Whatever you say, that is tempting. Come on.
I don't agree with you. I don't see it. I don't empathise with it. I wouldn't want it. I don't get it. I genuinely don't. If I were Trent Alexander-Arnold, he will be the captain of Liverpool. He will be the future captain of Liverpool. He will be a one-club man. He will break, if he wants to, Jamie Carragher's record for appearances in the Premier League. He will go down as a great. This isn't an extreme thing to say. There is a world where the Anfield Road end will be renamed the Trent Alexander-Arnold. If he stays and wins leagues after league after league and becomes a captain and becomes a record appearance holder, who cares about playing for Real Madrid? You become a forgotten Galactico. What do you get, really? What do you get? You get money.
Yeah.
You probably get a European Cup, but you might get out of Liverpool anyway. This thing that he
already
talks
has
about,
won it at Liverpool.
Yeah, but this thing, he's got this, I want to be the first right back to win the Ballon d'Or. I don't see why you have to go to Real Madrid. We've just seen a Man City player win it.
Do you know what else is interesting about Trent is that when you look at when Liverpool slumped this season, and when I say that,
when you say slumped,
it was a rare occasion. Yeah. But I mean when they went out to PSG in the Champions League. I mean when they lost the Carabao Cup final. Plymouth result doesn't really count because they basically played their B or C team for that game. But it coincided with when Trent was out of the squad. It's really worth noting that. And actually, all right, he's missed a few games since then too. I'm not just saying that was the reason behind it all. But it is interesting that he was missing for those games.
I don't think that it's make or break for Liverpool as to whether he leaves. Say Mohamed says, out of the three, you had to keep the two that they've kept. If Trent Alexander-Arnold leaves, you'd rather he doesn't, but life will continue. The world will keep turning whether Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Liverpool player or not. The other two, it doesn't keep turning. I feel like it goes off its axis, and they've kept them.
Well, I don't know. We'll see, though. We'll see, because he's not difficult to replace, I don't think, as a defender, but I think there are parts of his game that are difficult to replace. I've got two quick questions for you. Firstly, what is Mo Salah's legacy now, do you think, as a Liverpool player, now that he's won this second title? Where does he now rank as a Liverpool
think he's
player?
Now in an all-time Liverpool 11. How you go about doing that,
he's easily in that, surely. But I'm talking top 3 or 4 players.
mate,
Ever.
you've made it sound very easy to put him in an all-time Liverpool 11. When you think, if I actually asked you to do this, it's really difficult, particularly when you think of all time, because we're not naturally going to start talking about Roger Hunt and Ian St. John and Billy Liddell and whatever. Like, we're not going to do that. But you will struggle to get him in. Like, genuinely.
I don't know. With what he's achieved.
Realistically, you're leaving out.
understand.
You're leaving out Fowler, Torres, Owen, Suarez. You're leaving out someone of.
Yeah. Because of what he's achieved.
Fine.
It's incredible.
But it's not easy. It's really not easy.
It's not easy, but I think he's earned that, for sure.
And then in terms of... I'll tell you what is possible, which is going to sound crazy. There is a world, it's unlikely, but there is a chance that now he's staying, that he will break Ian Rush's Liverpool goal scoring.
Wow, that would be incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That
It's a long way off, and it's unlikely, but I'm not writing him off.
Final question, very, very quickly. Do you have Liverpool down as favourites for the title next season?
I do, but I have to caveat this by just saying I always do, out of respect for the champions.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.